Hi, my name is Luke, and tonight we're going to be talking about the 1910 Big Burn, which is the largest American fire to hit in the 1900s. So this took place in the northwest part of the country, occurring in July of 1910, and a year already with no rain, which ignited the fires. The Big Burn, however, would not start until mid-August, when 3 million acres of forest would suddenly set afire, lighting up trees like they were Roman candles, and hurricane-fast winds that were so strong that they would rip tall trees from their roots and carry them off into nearby canyons like they were nothing. 87 people were killed, 78 of them were firefighters, and towns that were engulfed, like Montana, were completely wiped out. So as you can see here, the Big Burn kind of outpaces everything. I mean, these two fires do come pretty close, but even the most recent example that occurred 6 years ago only burned about 1.2 million acres, which is nothing compared to the 3 million that we see here. Um, so the causes of the fire, this was largely a combination of a lot of things. Mostly, you're already in a hot and dry climate as it is, and you combine that with the lack of rain from 1908 to 1910. Combine that with the sparks and the coal from the railroads that these guys were building, which would literally add fuel to the fire. And you put all that together, and this is a perfect combination for a disaster this big. Further proof of this is if you look at this map here, the areas that are most affected are the places where the buildings are, like all these like flammable structures that would catch on fire, and not to mention like the previously mentioned railroads that would go from Wallace to Spokane, for example. And the places where there's little settlement, like Missoula and Blackfeet, you don't really see a lot of fire here. Two important figures I have to talk about are Gifford Pinchot and Ed Pulaski. Pinchot was the founder of the Modern Forest Service, backed by President Roosevelt, both on both in the same page when it came to forest conservation. Pulaski does join the service in 1908, eventually becoming a ranger. And Pinchot believed he was doing God's work by preserving these forests. His team believed that they were good enough to outright defy nature and preserve forest no matter what the circumstances were, which, as we're going to see, didn't really turn out to pan out. So this is what Wallace looked like before the fire touched it. One of the very first things that happened was the fire got attracted to a big brewer, which caused an explosion, and that's where a lot of the citizens took notice to evacuate. There's only one train going out of Wallace, and that was to Spokane. Most of the women and children were evacuated, but the men were not allowed to board. They had to stay behind a firefight. To the north of that, Pulaski found a nearby mine shaft to shield his men from the middle of the forest fire, going so far as to threaten to shoot his men with a revolver should they be brave and stupid enough to get out of the mine into an ongoing forest fire. So this is what the town looked like after the forest fire. The eastern half is completely wiped. Pulaski does survive, but he does have third-degree burns. In fact, he comes to this very same spot to look for his wife and child once the fire was over. Um, so as previously stated, Pinchot and Roosevelt were on the same page in terms of conserving the forest, which is why it thrived during Roosevelt's time in office. But that changed when Taft took over. Seeing as he was an anti-conservationalist, he fired Pinchot and withdrew most of Pinchot's efforts, leading to the Forest Service having less money, less resources, money and resources that probably would have been critical to help in the big burn when it happened. So, fortunately, their legacies do carry on. Pinchot does have a forest named after him in Washington, and the tool that Pulaski made with the axe in front and the hoe in the back was so good that they nicknamed it the Pulaski. So what can we learn about the Big Burn? Well, a lot of things. Main ones being that if this disaster did not occur, public awareness for these forests would not be as it was today. So the Forest Service's budget doubled because of this. And this was actually one of the very first times where firefighters were recognized as American heroes for the first time in American history because of all the crap that happened in Wallace. But not only that, it also started this public idea of suppressing any and all fires in the hopes of preventing anything from this happening again. The downside to that, of course, is that it led to like patchier forests, and which led to younger trees more susceptible to catching on fire. Negative effects that we're still dealing with today. The two main takeaways that I want to take away from this is that man can never control nature. Natural disasters happen, and the only thing that we can do is to prepare for them, but we cannot prevent them. Something that Pinchot and his team never really got across when they most arrogantly tried to stop the forest fires. The second takeaway is the danger when you overlap politics with science. So in this case, you have the conservationalist Pinchot clashing with the anti-conservation efforts of Taft. And were Taft to continue in Roosevelt's footsteps, they would have put more resources into Pinchot's organization, possibly saving more lives and more damages from the big burn. And so yeah, I hope you enjoyed learning about the Big Burn, and yeah, thanks for watching.